Okay, everybody, welcome back to our beginners program for yoga. And so we just talked about what is yoga. We gave a little outline of how it's different practices, and the goal is to change the way that you're, relating and seeing the world, and to experience more peace and less fear. As basic, review there. Now let's talk about the benefits of yoga. Because the fact of the matter is, I often ask this type of question, to my teacher training groups, and I ask them, "Hey, what is yoga?" And I wait for everybody to give me their answer, and we can use that to talk about it. But then I often make the point that what is yoga doesn't really matter, and it doesn't really matter to people, because what really matters to people isn't what is yoga, but rather is why should I do yoga. And that's much more important as a calculus, I think, in all of our lives. What it is interesting, but more interesting is what are the benefits and why would I want to do it? And so let's talk about that. Yeah. Well, the benefits are massive, and we're going to talk about benefits that are multidimensional, right? Because we said that this is a multidimensional practice. Multidimensional benefits, starting with the most kind of obvious is the physical body. Most people come to yoga because they want something to change physically, or they have a reason that they want to see something get effect, and they want yoga to get that effect. And that is very common because of how powerful yoga is in the physiological realm, the physiological dimension. So let's start from the beginning, weight loss. Okay? I mean, the common trend is you start doing yoga and you start losing weight. And there's more than one reason for that. It's not just the exercise. It's also because of the awareness. And then it becomes awareness over your food patterns. And then it becomes a slight changing in the way that you eat. And then all of that comes together, and you just find that your body really appreciates that combination of variables of exercising and a little dietary changes here and there. And all of a sudden the weight just starts leaving you. Okay, so weight loss. Another benefit, strength, power. This yoga, the misconception is that yoga is just about sitting. And while that actually is the original yoga, sitting in meditation, that's not the yoga that we see here in the West. In the West, we're doing lots of very physical actions, push-ups and different things with your arms, and different things with your core, and going upside down, and twisting this way and twisting that way. And so the body gets very strong. And that is important because strength is related to resilience. And resilience is a quality that we need more of in this world that we're living in, which is challenging. It's not easy. All these variables coming at us, there are all these obstacles, in all these different directions, challenges, right? Well, what's the way that we are able to, stay in those waters and stay moving in our direction? Those waves are coming strong, the wind's blowing, but we're still, how? Because we're strong, right? The engine is strong. So, strength is important. What's also important? Range of motion, yeah? You could call it flexibility if you really wanted to. You could call it range of motion, but it's very valuable to be able to move your body and to have a capacity. If you are a dancer or a performer, or any number of careers, professions where you would want to have, your physical ability, or a climber, range of motion is critical. Martial artist, injury prevention. Okay, you want to prevent injuries because I think you appreciate that as we get older in our life, we have to be more and more aware, because injuries can be more and more possible as the years go on. But guess what? With your daily yoga practice, injuries really become less and less common, become less and less possible. Because yoga, when you do it before your sport, because that's the thing, we don't live to do yoga, we do yoga to live. And so you keep your sports, you keep all your fun stuff, but if you do yoga before it, the chances of you getting injured are much less, and that way the chance of getting to enjoy your sport for the rest of your life longer is greater. So yoga is really valuable for that. More benefits. Well, benefits digestion. So if you have constipation, which is the root of all disease, yoga benefits digestion. Yoga benefits, meaning that it helps you eliminate constipation, right? Yoga also is beneficial to your lymphatic system. Your lymphatic system are your lymph nodes and your ability to cleanse your body of all the waste products that your cells make. Your cells are constantly, for lack of a better word, they're pooping. They eat and they poop, and the cells are pooping, and those waste products are acidic, and the lymphatic system has to deal with that. And if we have a lymphatic system that is stagnated or blocked, it creates kind of a feedback cycle of more and more acidity and more toxicity in the body. So lymphatic drainage, lymphatic system, hugely important. Yoga works on that. Endocrine system, your glands, they control your whole body. They control your biological functions. They're like the whole thing when it comes to how are your cells getting activated to do their jobs. It's all about hormones produced by glands. Well, yoga, because of the nature of the actions, works on the endocrine system. So, there are books and books and books written only about the physiological benefits of practicing yoga. Okay, blood pressure, different lower levels of stress, physiological stress. Okay, and that also goes to the mental aspect, which we're going to talk about now. But the physiological benefits alone are monumental. And whatever you need in your life physiologically, yoga can give it to you. Because it's that powerful. These actions, these postures, these breathing activities, these actions, just the benefits of physiological benefits of deep breathing alone are as much as anything else. Because when we talk about the breathing, we all have a very shallow tendency to breathe, and that has another effect on our nervous system. Okay, let's talk about the nervous system. Let's talk about the mind, because yoga affects the mind, and it really gives a lot of benefits to the mind. One of the first benefits that it brings us is more balance, more equanimity, which is the word that's used a lot. Less reactivity. And that capacity to be less reactive is actually giving you more power, because you start to realize that your reactivity is giving away your hand. It's like showing your cards at a poker game. It's like, here, this is how I think, but that's not actually the powerful position. The powerful position is to be less reactive and to be more contemplative about what is the best thing to do in any given situation. And that is a skill you learn in yoga. Why? Because you could be in a yoga position, and the position could be for 5 breaths, for example. But let's say you're new or you're not new, but it's difficult. After 3 breaths, you're ready to get out. Your body's burning. You're not comfortable physically. But guess what? You're with your breath. Guess what? You're in the present moment giving thanks. So here, you're learning in yoga to be physiologically comfortable, right? Mentally relaxed and with equilibrium and in peace. Now that's something that can get transferred out to the rest of your life, where you could be at a park bench, right? And you can be at a park bench, you can be physiologically not comfortable because you're cold, or because the park bench is hard like a rock, or you're waiting for this or for that, and all this stuff is physiologically comfortable. But guess what? You're not mentally uncomfortable. You're mentally in peace. Why? Because you learned that in yoga. See? So, huge benefit. And something that really is experienced in your whole life when you start to transform that difference, okay, between being reactive and not being so. All right, more power versus less. Now, what else does it do for us mentally? Well, it helps us with concentration. So we all have our cell phones, and we're all in a world of distractions, and we're all moving, the mind, and constantly looking in this and that way. Well, with yoga, we learn to keep the eyes still. We learn skills that are helping us to concentrate, which will only make us more productive in our life and more at peace. Because the more distracted we are, the less in peace we are. So the more we learn to focus, as we do with yoga, the more peace we will be experiencing in our life, because that's the nature of focus, is peace. And the nature of distraction is not peace. And so it's a great skill that we learn in yoga, that we again see in our daily, that we can see the benefits in our daily life. Well, what about stress and anxiety? I think that's an epidemic, right? In this day and age, the stress of the work and the fear of the future and all of these things, it's almost overwhelming. But with yoga, because of the spiritual context, the bigger picture that you're exposed to, you get to see that, it's hard, but it's relatively hard. And there's an absolute behind that. And so you get to put things in context, right? And that's very helpful for us to relate and to be able to kind of, like I say, navigate these waters that are challenging for us. And we learn that in yoga too, okay? So, the benefits mentally they're too much for words, okay? For children, letting children learn yoga would be the same benefits. Imagine all those benefits we just talked about, but having them for your whole life instead of having to learn it when you're 60. Okay, so yoga is, this is a beginner's course, especially be great for your children, just in case, I'm sure most children already do yoga, because yoga's in most schools already. Well, keep it going and always support that. And that's why, because the mental benefits are just as valuable for them as they are for us. Well, spiritually as well, there are a lot of benefits. Not everybody is spiritual. Some people consider themselves religious, and that is to be honored. And yoga honors religion completely, and yoga is not a religion. And yoga is not a competition to any religion. It's not interested in replacing. In fact, it's quite the opposite. You see, yoga is in the realm of spirituality, whereas religion, is a different realm. And see, spirituality is, we could say, universal. And I would say that yoga is in the universal spirituality, whereas religion is more about division. And all of it is about God, and so all of it is good. But you see, with religion, there's more of a focus on what's different between the two groups or the two cultures, and usually the only thing that's different is the language. It's Allah in one language, it's Adonai in another language. They're both saying God. So, but in the end, that's religion. It's a lot about differences, and that's cool. It's what it is. Whereas yoga is a bit more universal spirituality. So what does that mean? It means that if you're practicing yoga, it doesn't change your religion. In fact, it makes you better at your own religion. So if you're Catholic and you know about Jesus, and you know that Jesus had compassion, and you might imagine that the more compassion you have, the more like Jesus you are, the better person you are. Well, that's what yoga does. Yoga helps us become a better person ourselves, and then we can take that version of ourselves, which has more awareness and more connection to the world, and to ourselves, and into our religion, and just and appreciate it even more, and really see the depth of it even more. Okay? A lot of times that happens. You start to have an experience in yoga, and then you read in the Bible, and you start to really resonate with what that was saying, because you actually felt it, as opposed to just read it. Okay, so that's the benefits of yoga. There's so many. I hope that this is kind of just exciting you, so that you realize, wow, this is something that I want to do, and I want to do it every day. The key, of course, to the benefits is to practice them every day. This yoga one day, I know this is just the beginning of your career, but one day the goal is to have a daily practice so that all these benefits can be part of your daily life.